Hello and welcome to News Laundry Reviews. We have three generations of news professionals here.
Interesting, yes.
Madhu Trehan, Arunabh Saikia, I'm Abhinandan Sekhri, yeah, that's my name. And today has been the hanging of Yaqub Mehman. A case after 22 years has closed and the guilty has been punished. What are we here to figure out? This is a story that was done back then. You've seen how it was covered in the last day or two.
Yep.
Do you think there'd be a difference in how people would view it? Those who covered it then and those who covered it today?
I think for the people in Mumbai who experienced it, obviously it's still fresh for the victims, it never goes away. But the footage that was so stark and macabre, I think people have forgotten. And the young people such as Arunabh, I don't think they are aware of the kind of devastation that took place.
What do you think, Arunabh? Are you...
I think Madhu's right here, at least to a certain extent, because a lot of the outrage that happened in the Taj attacks was because of what we saw on TV. You know, it was live TV. We saw terrorists.
Taj attacks is the one that happened a few years ago.
The Bombay attacks, the last Bombay
siege.
attacks, when terrorists, opened fire indiscriminately, in the railway station, and how innocent people were fired at. So that was part of the reason, I suppose, we were as a country so angry. So
And how do you remember anything of the Mumbai blast?
Do you remember what
Not
at that
much. I
time?
mean, I was very,
You don't
very
remember?
young. I was very, very young.
How old were you?
I was 3.
Okay, then you're forgiven for not remembering. So should we play it? And let me see, we'd like to see if your reaction is different after you see it.
Sure, we should.
Once again, the metropolis of Bombay has looked on in stunned disbelief. 13 lethal bomb blasts on Friday, 12th of March, ripped the confidence that was returning to the beleaguered city after the communal carnage of December and January. These detonations left more than 300 dead and 1,500 injured. 13 powerful explosions within 2 hours point to a plot as sinister as it is sophisticated. Investigators claim they have the answers to most questions surrounding the explosions that shook Bombay, the modus operandi, the local connections, and an estimated cost of the operation. But they're still not saying who was the actual mastermind of the plot. Are we prepared to deal with a wave of international terrorism? Mrityunjoy Kumar Jha reports.
Friday, March 12, 1:26 p.m. A few minutes before trading was to end at the Bombay Stock Exchange, a massive explosion ripped the 29-story building's basement parking area. The Bank of Baroda office above the basement was blown to smithereens. The impact of the explosion was so strong that it even shattered window panes of the surrounding buildings. Seconds after the blast of the bomb, Dalal Street reverberated with the screams and cries of those trapped and injured. Panic-stricken survivors of the explosion, some injured, stampeded out of the building. More than 2,000 people were stranded in the building. Most unlike the lackadaisical attitude one is used to in emergencies, the fire brigade reached minutes after the explosion and started evacuating people. In a remarkable show of good Samaritanship, members of the public voluntarily took victims to the hospitals and donated blood in large numbers.
इसका कैमरा को मिलेगा? नहीं मिलेगा। लाइट मिलेगा?
The explosive device, placed in a car in the basement parking area of the stock exchange and activated by a timer device, claimed at least 70 lives and injured about 200 people.
मेरी वाइफ शाम को 6 बजे से आज तक अभी तक वो रो रही है। वो बोल रही है कि मेरा बेटा अभी आएगा, अभी आएगा। वो समझ ही नहीं सकते कि मेरा बेटा मर गया। All of a sudden that blast occurred and all the people started running here and there. I also ran backwards, and in the meantime I to hold my head in my hands, but I came to know that I was heavily bleeding. All of a sudden there was a blast. I thought maybe there are some crackers bursting, but then some glass pieces and debris and all that started falling.
The terror was not over, it was just the beginning. In a span of 150 minutes, the city was shaken by 12 more blasts along its entire length, stretching from the BSc building in the south to Center Hotel at Santa Cruz Airport in the north, leaving behind more than 300 people dead, more than 1,500 injured, and a trail of gruesome destruction. At 1:36 p.m., a truck exploded in the grain trading area in Narsi Natha Street, destroying nearby buildings and vehicles. Barely 50 minutes later, a car bomb exploded in the parking lot of the Air India building, killing at least 20 people and injuring several others.
Then I saw all of a sudden blast. There was a car which exploded. And the blast, big blast, like balloon-shaped thing with red flames and all that. And immediately my daughter-in-law said, Papa, it's bomb.
And tragedy has struck the family. I mean, the only sister of mine is no more existing.
मेरी आंखों में वो जब धम करके एकदम पटाखा जैसा फूटा ना, तो उस वक्त मेरे को कुछ समझ भी नहीं आया। मैं बोला मैं तो आज मर जाता हूँ, क्या समझे? मैं समझा कि आज तो मैं मर ही जाऊँगा, मगर कुदरत का खेल देखो कितना अच्छा है। जब मेरे को धमाका करके उठा ना बम करके, तो मैं यहाँ से 10 फुट इतना जाके आगे गिरा।
The bomb in the Air India building blew out a 2-story deep crater.
नीचे बेसमेंट है गाड़ी का, सेकंड बेसमेंट में भी खड्डा पर गिर गया।
Within the next 15 minutes, the massacre resumed. A powerful car bomb went off at a bus stop opposite Century Bazaar shopping center in Worli. This was the worst. Over 100 people were immediately killed and more than 500 injured. Of those killed, 70 were passengers in the double-decker bus. The impact of the blast left 5 buses and their passengers completely charred. The bomb was so powerful that it formed a deep crater on the road, decimating 3 nearby apartment buildings.
हम लोग जो किचन में थे वो खाना खाने को बैठे थे ना, तो आवाज़ आया तो हम लोग दौड़ के आए, तो एक रूम में लड़का पड़ा था, एक रूम में लड़की पड़ी थी, दब गई थी।
तो सब बिल्डिंग नीचे गिर गया, तो हम उसके नीचे आ गए।
Even for hardened war veterans, the sight of dismembered bodies, so completely soaked in blood that they were unrecognizable, was difficult to take.
First time this has happened in Bombay, and now I do not think I'll be able to stay in peace in Bombay. I'm really very scared and really insecure. It was all of a sudden, and it was a loud blast, and all of a sudden the glasses kept on falling on us.
Bombay's date with terror was not over yet. 6 more bombs went off, 2:41 p.m. in a petrol pump adjacent to Shiv Sena headquarters at Dadar, 2:48 p.m. on the 3rd floor of the Center Hotel at Juhu, 3:05 p.m. in a scooter at Zaveri Bazaar, 3:16 p.m. in a car standing in the compound of Plaza Cinema, 3:50 p.m. in an 18th floor room at Siroc Hotel in Bandra, 3:55 p.m. the last one at the other Center Hotel at Santa Cruz Airport.
It was a nightmare. We were all in our houses. We never even thought that the next minute we will be without a house. We all had to rush onto the road. Then I saw that the road was full of smoke. You know, there were all buses and dead bodies and so much debris everywhere.
A cloud of fear gripped the city, with people calling the police control room claiming that they had seen suspicious-looking articles throughout the city. While most of the calls proved to be false alarms, the citizens' alertness did help the police prevent a repeat of the 12th of March disaster. The police were able to defuse a bomb in an abandoned scooter in Zaveri Bazaar.
You see, main precaution is to defuse the detonator, which is entangled with the pencil timer. We are diffusing that. We are dismantling the detonator, and then we are proceeding further. Once we defuse this, then there won't be any explosion.
Who had placed these bombs? What was their motive? These were the questions that haunted the country as a frantic manhunt was launched. Concerted police efforts provided the vital clues: registration and chassis numbers of the cars used in the bombing, an abandoned Maruti van loaded with arms and ammunition, and 2 scooters with explosives wired to the ignition.
The first lead was from a car which had AK-56 rifles, 7 AK-56 rifles and some hand grenades. So that lead led us to the house of a person who owned this car. That's how this Memon family came in the picture. And their house search, etc., gave us some incriminating material.
The nature of the explosives and the sophistication of the operation suggest a foreign involvement.
The possibility of these explosives and the grenades being indigenous is almost ruled out. So that is why you are talking about the foreign connection and the source from which it has come. So maybe our interaction with the friends who are coming from abroad will help us to enlighten us from where it could have come.
The arrests made by the police threw the spotlight on Bombay's underworld mafia, whose gangs are involved in extortion, kidnapping, foreign exchange racketeering, and the smuggling of drugs and arms from Pakistan and Afghanistan. The main suspects, Yaqub Memon and Ismail Memon alias Tiger. 33-year-old Ismail Memon is a known smuggler. Yaqub Memon is an associate of a notorious Karachi-based smuggler Chota Shakil, who reportedly works for Dawood Ibrahim. Ironically, the Memon brothers occupied 3 flats on the top floor of Al Hassan apartment in Mahim, which is only a stone's throw away from the police station.
They had escaped on the 11th and they had escaped some on the 12th morning. So before the actual blast, they had pre-arranged the whole thing, that they would not be here when the blasts take place.
In the victims' families suffering from terrible grief, there was also a deep outrage and frustration at the authorities.
What is the Indian intelligence services doing in this country today? With all this bomb blast taking place, in spite of all the riots that have taken place since December, what is the intelligence services doing here?
According to a newspaper report, despite warnings given by the Collector of Customs Bombay about the possible landings of arms and explosives concealed in gold and silver contraband, neither the Director of Revenue Intelligence nor the Marine and Preventive Wing of Customs notified the landings of 64 packages which are now being linked to the blasts. Yaqub Memon, reportedly hired by Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence for the explosions, had arrived in Bombay from Dubai soon after the package consignment landed.
I have full knowledge, but it won't be very right to tell you how many packages and where they have been put.
If it is smuggled or brought in through the coastal area, it means the Customs Department is responsible.
Yes,
they would have prevented it.
Further step go, there might be somebody who is also aware of these things. There must be negligence at somebody's part at somewhere. Then only they would get it. Yes, there has to be negligence at somebody's part. Whether coastal, air, road. We are all, agencies are all over. So some negligence is there. That's how this has reached.
Since preparations on a fairly large scale were required for the bombings, the plot could have been foiled had the Memon family been kept under adequate surveillance. But the Bombay police failed not only to do that, but did not even prevent the Memon family from escaping after the blast, despite an alert to intensify vigil at all departure points.
Yes, I agree with you that there has been some sort of, I would say, between maybe that Dubai has received the information and did not comply in their own way, and they could say we didn't get it.
The other absconders are hardcore criminals and drug traffickers Philu Khan and Mangesh Pawar, who are allegedly involved in all the 3 hotel blasts. Both escaped to evade arrest after an encounter with the city police on the 16th of March. Besides the massive scale of the Bombay blast operation, the heavy finance and the kind of high-grade plastic explosives employed have convinced experts about the involvement of international conspirators along with the Bombay Mafia.
At the moment, at least, from whatever little is available, the finger keeps pointing again and again from all angles back towards those elements in Pakistan which have both a military relationship as well as the Mujahideen experience.
Pakistan's involvement was further confirmed when the Memon family fled from Dubai and took shelter in Pakistan.
Yeah, it is clear. The External Affairs Minister has said it, that they have flown in particular flight from Dubai to Karachi.
Since you don't have any extradition treaty with the Pakistan government, So how can you get these people back to India?
You see, Pakistan must also be aware one thing, the feeling of the common man in the country. We have seen Kashmir, we have seen Punjab, we have seen Bombay. Now, there has to be a limit of patience. There has to be a limit of tolerance. And there has to be some limit somewhere where Pakistan must appreciate that India has a limitation.
In January, when the second wave of post-Ayodhya riots rocked Bombay, the city responded with a numbing mixture of amazement and trauma. But this time, resilience overcame trauma. Citizens came together as one to deal with the aftermath of the blasts. Chief Minister Sharad Pawar, who was reportedly reluctant to come back to the state, dispelled all doubts by his capable and decisive handling of the situation. In a determined attempt to demonstrate to the rest of the world that the country would ruthlessly pursue its economic activity, the shell-shocked Bombay Stock Exchange resumed its trading within 3 days.
The opening of market today has restored a lot of confidence as far as the general public is concerned and as far as the broker community is concerned. Once you are in action, everything was forgotten. Had you been inactive, the stock would have continued for another 15-20 days.
There was talk everywhere that at least 1 to 3 months the stock exchange will not start. But we accepted the challenge. Whatever their requirement, we fulfill in practically 24 hours.
Unlike his lethargic, switched-off predecessor, Sharad Pawar demonstrated that he meant business.
I will see in near future there is absolute normalcy, and we will restore the confidence of people of Bombay, and we will show to the whole world that you can see the same Bombay, what was there prior to 6th of December.
International terrorism, West Asian style, has made its advent through the gateway of India. As Bombay was limping back to normalcy, another bomb was triggered off, this time in the crowded center of another city, Calcutta. What these blasts have underlined is the fact that among the intelligence agencies, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. The need for a total update and revamp, as propounded by the Home Ministry, is only too obvious.
With the modern technology available to us, with modern communication available to us, we do require an improvement in quality of information.
You mean revamping the whole
But that I will leave it to you, whichever you take it, but some sort of, some more improvement in the quality of information.
Today, the moot questions are, is India prepared for this new phase of high-tech terrorism, which in all probability is here to stay? Does India have any effective reply to offer? Or will India continue to give its answers through rather ineffective bureaucratic and diplomatic channels?
Even if it is not prepared, we have to be prepared. We cannot allow such activities to take place in the country. And we have all the infrastructure with us. But the day these techniques are coming, like RDX, it shakes up 7 floors in one go. It's a very high explosive chemicals, and it's a very, worrying subject. But I can assure you that India has the capabilities to cope up.
Someone has declared war on you in Bombay a few days ago. Who it is, why, how, is a very big interrogation mark. Now, it doesn't mean that any neighboring country is at war with you, but clearly someone, some group, some has sent a message.
You know, a kind of, not exactly fear, but consciousness that violence is the order of the day all over the world. You see anywhere in the world, violence is gaining ground. That it's a matter of survival. So now that we have experienced terrorism, now that we know that terrorists have us as a target, and we are a soft target, we've got to learn survival methods. Not by we, I don't just mean the police, but the people also.
What is certain is that terrorism has to be included in the new realities of today. If the Bombay blasts are any indication, the terrorist attacks are likely to grow both in numbers as well as intensity in the coming months and years. It is crucial that the government gets down to handle this terrorist challenge on a war footing before it is too late.
We came to the conclusion that we'd rather have world condemnations than world condolences.
Will we always be a nation receiving condolences?
Aruna, now that you've seen all the footage, what is your reaction? Do you think the discourse would have been different in the last 2 days if people were aware of what happened with footage like this?
I think two things. First of all, after seeing this, I realized this is as bad as anything else has happened in the country. 2002, which I was much older, which I saw on TV, old enough to understand. And this looks, at least on on here, as bad as 2002. Also, another thing, I think I understand where a lot of people come from when they say that Memon should be hanged and what happened was really bad. And I don't know personally about what I think about the hanging, but yes, I understand where people come from when they say that yes, he should be hanged, he should be punished.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little typical of this generation, which is always ambivalent about everything. That I don't know if he should be hanged. Take a position, Aruna.
See, there's a backdrop to it, right? There's a backdrop to it, the riots and what happened, the Babri Masjid demolition. So there's a backdrop to it. So I think it's unfair to, look at it in an isolated
But you bring up a very good point. What you're saying is that you bring in Babri Masjid and you bring in the riots after that, and then you bring in this. What does happen in this discussion is that whenever you bring up an incident or incidents that have happened that have triggered a reaction and then a counter reaction, and it goes on, the fact of the matter is that's what happened in Godhra and that's what happened in 1984. It was a reaction to Indira Gandhi's assassination. So everything, when it is a reaction, sets off something. So that's not an argument.
I'm sure it's not an argument, but
it shouldn't be used, I think.
But I think everything is context. To look at things without context is unfair. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
That's my point. That's what I think.
All right. So once you've seen this, do you think that people who see this footage, will their discourse be changed?
I suppose that depends again. It depends on how people look at it, because I personally don't have a very strong position on it. I mean, I don't even have a thoughtful position on whether capital punishment should be banned or not. So, I mean, yes, the footage is pretty terrible, like you look at it, I looked at it now, and it makes me, it gave me the goosebumps, that this happened, so many people died, it was in the middle of the day in Bombay. So yes, I think people are going to look at it. If people look at it and think about it, I mean, they will realize. A lot of people will realize that yes, this man he was a co-conspirator of a tragedy as big as this, and probably yes, that's probably the only way that a closure can come, by hanging this man, as per the law of the land, which has happened.
So I guess news images do make a difference. And you never told me your youngest sister Chutki used to anchor.
If you enjoyed that, click up here to support us and down here to subscribe. Be sure to check out our older episodes and the other stuff we do, like Can You Take It, I Agree, panel discussions, comics and animations, and much, much more.